Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another ROU online series. Today we'll be doing the topic of TIKAAF, or that which people do at the last 10 days in the month of Ramadan, where they will seclude themselves in the masjid. So we begin. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد. So on the topic of i'tikaf, I know an i'tikaf a lot of times is that which is practiced by the males of the family, but we'll get into that probably a little later into the discussion. So i'tikaf means, or what the purpose of the i'tikaf is to extract ourselves from society, extract ourselves from our daily lives, and to stick and to attach ourselves to the masjid, or to attach ourselves to the bounds of the masjid for a certain purpose. And the i'tikaf comes from the verb akafa, which means to stick to it, to attach to. So we are attaching ourselves to the masjid, and all, as Allah says in Surah Baqarah chapter 2 verse 187, وَالْعَاكِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ, and do i'tikaf and attach yourselves to the masjid, referring to the verse was actually referring to relations with one's wives, but it says that akifuna fil masajid, that where the reference for i'tikaf is mentioned in Quran. The purpose of i'tikaf, so this is done in the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan, where the sole purpose of i'tikaf is to seek out the night of Laylatul Qadr. So i'tikaf is done for no other purpose but for that, so seeking out Laylatul Qadr. It is not really done to maximize our rewards of reading Quran and doing adhkar, although this is what we do during i'tikaf, and this is what we occupy our times with, but the purpose of it is to seek out, to find Laylatul Qadr and to experience it and to make the use of Laylatul Qadr. So, that's the main purpose of it. And when we say we detach ourselves from this world, we detach ourselves from our normal daily lifestyles, and we attach ourselves, we stick to the masjid, and we do so in a spiritual as well as a physical manner. We could be doing spiritually, praying and salah and reading Quran. We could do that in our houses, but the i'tikaf is done at the masjid, at least. But the i'tikaf is done at the masjid. We'll come to that shortly also. So, at the masjid, in our usual lives, we have so many things on a daily basis where we do. If we really think about it, we whether from the time we get up at morning, there's stuff that we need to do, we need to get done, whether it's simply as cooking and preparing meals, and then looking after the children, and then doing our daily task, and it goes on and on until we break fast at evenings. And then if we want to spend time looking for the Laylatul Qadr, then we need to organize ourselves in a certain way. And i'tikaf does that those who are in i'tikaf, so we take the example in the masjid, when those who are in i'tikaf in the masjid, that they don't leave the physical accommodations there really for any unnecessary reason. So even when it comes to suhoor and iftar, most of the times that we see at the masjid and the masajid, that the food is brought for them for the tents, and usually they would set up these tents or these enclosures within the confines of the salah area in the masjid. So if you never saw what i'tikaf looks like in the masjid or experienced it, it's usually a tent or an enclosure, or some people actually carry their camping tents and they pitch it in the masjid. So some sort of enclosure they'll usually have at the masjid where the brothers would sleep or the sisters would sleep. And it doesn't have to be enclosed per se, but it's done in that manner so that when they need privacy, when they need to actually do their ibadah, no one will disturb them. So those who are doing their i'tikaf there, they're referred to as the mu'takifin, those who do an i'tikaf. So i'tikaf, mu'takif or mu'takifin. So those who are doing i'tikaf, usually the food is brought to them. The people bring the suhoor will be brought in those areas, the iftar will be brought in those areas, the dinners too in those areas. So they don't have a need to get out of the physical confines of the masjid. And sometimes once you step out there, you'll encounter many different people, whether coming to breakfast or families, or you encounter a lot of people. And just to to prevent ourselves from talking too much and idle talk and engaging in different conversation, the food is brought inside, and for no unnecessary reason would the person doing i'tikaf leave that space. So the necessary reasons that they would leave the space though for is to answer the call of nature, go into the washrooms. They could go there if there's no sinks in the physical common space there, that they'll go to brush their teeth. They brush their teeth rather, not teeth. Quite a mistake for me to make. So they brush their teeth there, and they will also take a bath. And there's some difference of opinion that we've seen sometimes, that whether bathing is allowed in i'tikaf. And the jamhur, or the majority opinion, is that bathing is definitely allowed in i'tikaf. Bathing is something, if we, inshallah, we are accustomed to doing it every day. We can go in i'tikaf and not do it for 10 days, and probably 2-3 days past that we would become a bit unclean. And we are in the masajid, we are in the houses of Allah in that state, and we're performing the salawat and reading the adhkar and doing so much forms of ibadah that we want to be in a state of purity. So I know there are some opinions that one should not bathe in i'tikaf. I personally follow opinion where it's quite allowed to bathe in i'tikaf because it comes as a necessity. Of course, do check your own imams for your opinions. So and what is allowed in i'tikaf is that which is necessary to come out of those kind of confined spaces. So even if there is no one around to bring food for someone in i'tikaf, that the one doing i'tikaf is allowed to come out, go into the kitchens in the masjid and arrange their foods for and eat, and then come back to the spaces. That's okay, because it is a necessity at the end of the day. We could take how far we can go as a necessity. We could look at it as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did when he was doing i'tikaf. And when he sallallahu alaihi wasallam was doing i'tikaf, as the hadith is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, when one of his wives, I believe it was Safiya, she came to visit him once, and it was at night time. So she came to visit him, and she was leaving at night time. And this is not a society like our society that is well lit, and at night is usually for women to be moving around freely. So when it was time to go back to her house, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was in the state of i'tikaf, he left the masjid, and this is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari. He left the masjid and he escorted her basically to her house, and close enough where he could see the house, and he let her go off, and she would go and enter the house, and he went back to the masjid. So he actually left the physical confines of the masjid, and and so this alone gives the basis and the principle that once there is necessity for doing something in i'tikaf, we could leave the confined space. Of course, there's different opinions of it, and we're not here today specifically we can do that at a different time. So, when we speak again about i'tikaf and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how was his i'tikaf? How did the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam perform his i'tikaf? And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would perform i'tikaf every single year in the month of Ramadan, every single year without failure. Right? So in the month of Ramadan, in the last 10 days, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would perform i'tikaf. But there was one year when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sick during the month of Ramadan, and he was unable to perform the i'tikaf. And this was so beloved to him, and this was such an attached practice of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when the month of Ramadan was over and he became well again, he did i'tikaf in the month of Shawwal, which is the month right after Ramadan where we celebrate Eid. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a way made up for that i'tikaf in the month of Shawwal. So this is how dear and near and important the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam attached his importance attached to i'tikaf is. So, and we today describe it as a fard kifaya, a fard or a compulsory action that is due upon the community. So at least someone or some individuals of the community should do it, and that in itself would absolve the rest of the community from this fard action. Similar to the rule of janazah. That some members should do it. If not all people can do it, some should do it, and this will absolve the rest of the members from it. We see also the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that in his i'tikaf that he would do it in the last 10 days of Ramadan, and in his last year of Ramadan, his last extra Ramadan that he experienced, he did it for 20 days. The last 20 days he did, and it bears some. We could show a similarity that in last Ramadan he did 20 days i'tikaf, the last 20 days instead of 10. And we also see, this is something that I noticed, that when Angel Jibreel came with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Ramadan to revise the Quran with him, that every single Ramadan he will revise the Quran once with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in his last year, in his last Ramadan, the Angel Jibreel revised the Quran with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam twice, double the amount. And we see the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam similarly doing double the amount of days of i'tikaf in his last year also. Just something to a side note. So this is what i'tikaf is about. When it comes to the woman, we speak about i'tikaf and we usually see the men doing i'tikaf in the masjid. We never see a woman tent usually pitched or areas pitched on their side. What is the ruling, or what do women do in terms of i'tikaf? So in terms for women respect to i'tikaf, the Hanafi opinion and those who follow the Abu Hanifa school of thought, that women are allowed to do their i'tikaf at home. So the same rulings basically, and the same objectives and the same aims and the same dynamics which will play within i'tikaf in the masjid, it will be applied to the home. And this is under the Abu Hanifa school of thought. The other three school of thought, that of Imam Shafi, Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, that they legislate that i'tikaf must be done in the masjid. So whether it's a male or a female, that i'tikaf must be is only valid if it's done in a masjid. So, and that means for a woman doing i'tikaf in the masjid, there must be there must be a separate sisters area in the masjid. Once the accommodations are appropriate and okay for it, the woman could do the i'tikaf in the masjid. And likewise they would probably construct some sort of tent or confined space where they could seclude themselves even from the other sisters that would come visit the masjid normally. So women can do the i'tikaf at the masjid. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And it goes on to say also that the same rules would apply, that the food might be brought for them, they have to make certain arrangements and all of these things. So when does i'tikaf start? So according to all the four schools of thought, and this is across the board, that the i'tikaf begins before the sunset of the 21st night. So that means on the 20th day of fasting, before the sunsets of that day, that i'tikaf will begin. So that we would be in the state of i'tikaf starting from the 21st night, before the 21st night starts. And we know that the night precedes the day, so the 21st night will be before the 21st day. And we know that Laylatul Qadr, as we would do in later sessions, that Laylatul Qadr, as the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad mentions, that to seek Laylatul Qadr among the odd nights of the last 10 nights. And the first of the odd nights begins on the 21st night. So of course we want to be there in the masjid on the 21st night. Okay, so going on to probably a couple other things. During the time of i'tikaf is a time when, if you want to seclude ourselves, if you want to be in a state of ibadah as much as possible, and you not want to be distracted, and so much so that it is one of the easiest things to become distracted in i'tikaf, that people would usually come to the masjid and sometimes they're innocently just happy and joyous to see you and look out to see how you're doing, if you need anything, and brothers will start talking to brothers and likewise, and then you start getting into long conversations. So one of the easiest things to in i'tikaf is to actually get distracted and set off track and do other things than ibadah. So sometimes we get into idle talk, we spend times on the phone, we spend times on the internet. So for those doing i'tikaf, one of the best things, have a plan set out of how you intend to do the i'tikaf. Have a plan set out on what you intend to achieve for the day. Have a plan set out if we want to wake out and achieve the Laylatul Qadr, that we sleep probably a certain amount in the day, so we could wake as much as we could in the nights. So have a plan set out for it. And you know, for those who are visiting the masjid and we visiting people in i'tikaf, or there are people in i'tikaf, let us be cognizant at the same time that we don't disturb others who are in i'tikaf, that we allow them their time to do ibadah. If you need to speak to them, go speak, but you know, don't prolong conversations and stuff like that. So it's important. Sometimes in some masajid you'll even find, like in Nur Islam Masjid, that very nice accommodations, that you have the partitions there. They would even bring a fridge upstairs, so you wouldn't have to leave the confines of that area to get something in the fridge, whether it be in any time of the day, right? So that's quite nice. Bamboo Masjid, another nice area to do i'tikaf. And of course all the masajid, let's speak in the ones I did i'tikaf at, so big them up a little bit. But of course, all the masajid, if you have never done i'tikaf before, it is something that is very much recommended to do. And I per se recommend people who, if you tend to do Hajj, I believe it's a nice precursor to it. It gets you in a certain groove. It prepares you for Hajj, and you know, when you be away from your family, away from a home, sleeping basically on the ground sometimes, and just spreading a blanket there, that it kind of prepares you. It's probably one of the closest things we could do in a simple way to preparation for Hajj. Wallahu ta'ala. So usually we like to leave with I like to leave you with a action plan. You know, some of the things we could do. So one of the things we could do, and this is COVID-19. This is the pandemic that is there, and the question sometimes is asked, you know, since it's COVID-19 and the masajids are locked down and we might not be able to do i'tikaf there, could we do i'tikaf at the home and get the same reward for it? And according to the scholars, they have mentioned that no, because of the fact that i'tikaf is not something that is fard for everyone, fard al-ain, but it's something that is really a sunnah. So there's different views that it is a sunnah, and some views that it is a fard al-kifaya, a congregational fard. But we take it at the level, even we take it as that, or the level of a sunnah, which most of the imams adhere to. It is not something that is fraud, so we don't need. If we don't do it, it is okay. There's an allowance for it now. So the majority of scholars do say that if we cannot do i'tikaf in the masjid, no, we are still not allowed to do it at home. But as we leave today with our action plan, I have an action plan for you. You know, many of times we can't do i'tikaf because we have our works, we have our job, we have different things to do during the day. In the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan, you know, sometimes the last 10 days around all we're doing is looking for Eid gifts, Eid clothes, and preparing for Eid. And you know, we're so busy doing those things. Alhamdulillah, Thumma Alhamdulillah, that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and the government has given us holidays. Holidays are called holidays in the month of Ramadan now, where we do have the ability that we are free now in these last 10 days of the month of Ramadan. And you know, have we ever have this opportunity before? No, I don't think so. So the challenge is out to you now, that if we can't do i'tikaf at the masjid, the challenge is out to you now, not to do i'tikaf at home. And don't miscrew and think that I'm saying that i'tikaf could be done at home and you know, saying that you know, there's a bit that we are doing and all that. No, what I'm asking to do is that as if we were doing the same objective of i'tikaf, which is to seek out the night of Laylatul Qadr, and we do have no work to go to, we do have our usual commitments, we don't have that let us get as close as doing i'tikaf in our homes as we could do in the masjid. Let us get as close as it as possible. Meaning what? It means that if we want to wake out through the nights of Ramadan, these last 10 nights, if we want to wake out, we want to seek the night of Laylatul Qadr, let us arrange our days, our daytime periods as best as possible to accommodate that. Meaning, let us get some, if we won't be sleeping as much in the nights, and you know, we don't have to wake the entire night, but we could wake part, the majority of it, and when we feel sleepy and we can't make again, take a nap, take a rest, and put your alarm clock so we probably wake up. So at least the least we should be getting in the last 10 nights is the last third of the night. If you could be awake through the entire last third of the night in a form of ibadah, that this is Qiyamul Layl, as we spoke about. So that's the best part that we should be awake for, definitely. So if we need to wake during those times, let us get more sleep in the day maybe. We're not saying to sleep the entire day, but probably get a sleep after lunch. Probably get a sleep in after Fajr Salah, that we could get a a pretty long sleep there to make up for what we missed in the nights. Let us arrange our days in a way that we can maximize the nights. Let us arrange our days in a way where yes, we have to cook food, and yes, we have to prepare the meals, and yes, we will have to probably do the Eid gifts, and Allahu Alam how much Eid a gift exchange we will have this year, but inshallah that we have to arrange all these things, but let us do it in using a minimal amount of time. So our focus and our objective is to do as if we were in TIKAAF. Let us think like if we are in TIKAAF. Let us act like if we are in TIKAAF. We are not in TIKAAF, and we are not saying that. But let us do as much if we are in that. And let us have these 10 days as we have this opportunity now to be at home as if we are in TIKAAF. So arrange our foods, arrange our drink, arrange our days with enough sleeping, arrange a program for the night so that we can stay awake at the nights and do a form of ibadah. Let us treat these last 10 days as if we were in TIKAAF. And I leave you with that, and you come up with your own plans, how you intend to do it, and you could probably comment below that what are your plans for the last 10 days of Ramadan and last 10 nights. I know these are the last 10 nights where Allah speaks about in Surah Fajr chapter number 89 verse number 2, وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ, and by the 10 odd nights. By the 10 odd nights, so it's very important nights. And let us arrange our days, even though we might not be doing our tikaf in the masjid, but let us get as close as we can to doing it at our homes. And we end off there. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ولا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.